Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we have quite a lot to talk about. Yesterday I asked for something to talk about. I slightly regret that. Just ever so slightly. You know what the headlines are. We're going to have to cover it. Celtic are close to making their next signing in the transfer window apparently, but Manchester City looking at KYOGO as an option. That was not the news we expected to hear this morning. Let's talk about that. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We are down to the final 8 or so days of this transfer window, so stick with me. I'll be here till the very end. Hopefully Celtic make a couple of signings. Hopefully we keep a hold of our best players. It's all kicking off now with just over a week to go. It's typical, innit? Right, enough beating around the bush. These are the headlines that we've woke up to this morning. Numerous outlets and sources implying that Celtic's KYOGO Furuhashi is on Manchester City's shortlist to replace Julian Alvarez. Manchester City will decide if they want to make a move to replace Julian Alvarez. Celtic's KYOGO Furuhashi is among the players they have looked at. He's been at Celtic since 2021. That was Sky Sports News headline this morning. It wasn't them that broke the story. We'll get into that in a moment. But I know it's what you're all here to talk about, to try and rant about in the comments. I know you're desperate to hear me saying there's no chance of it happening. And we'll get to that. We'll get to my opinions of it. It's news we didn't expect to wake up to this morning. I didn't expect KYOGO to be linked with any clubs in this transfer window, let alone arguably the best team in the world, Manchester City. The current English Premier League champions, last year's European Cup winners. They're going for 5 in a row in the Premier League this season. It's never been done before in the English Premier League. The only team that's done 3 in a row is Manchester United, of course. Now Manchester City going for 5 in a row. The little old KYOGO. I mean, who would have thought he would be getting linked with Pep Guardiola's side? Not me. Nonetheless, we've woke up this morning to that news, and it has Celtic fans online shaking in their boots, quite frankly. We are paranoid. And so you would be if you saw these headlines unexpectedly. So this story was broke by The Athletic this morning. This was The Athletic's article. Manchester City are considering a KYOGO Furuhashi move with Celtic forward on a short list of Julian Alvarez replacements. Their article went on to say essentially that, you know, Manchester City are looking at KYOGO as an option. After selling Julian Alvarez for £82 million, they have whittled down their search to KYOGO Furuhashi, aged 29, and one other younger forward. So the search has apparently been withered down to 2 players. The other player hasn't been named as yet. KYOGO has been named. And yeah, it's not the name we wanted to see. The story has also been picked up by Fabrizio Romano, who tweeted this as well this morning, that Manchester City are considering that move, one of the options. For a winger position, he was saying, initial talks have took place this week. Fabrizio Romano has went on to say, as Hugh Murray and Sam Lee reported. Also Ilkay Gundogan being reported in the same story, who is re-signing for Manchester City. But yeah, the devastating news that Man City have withered their searches down to KYOGO and another striker. That reportedly initial talks have already taken place. And this could potentially be something that happens over the next week. I want to take a moment to urge some calm to all of this, because I know people are petrified. And if you don't really use social media, it's obviously hard to keep up with stories like this, to see how it changes constantly. And you're just kind of going on a day-to-day basis and hoping for the best. I know it can be difficult if you're not on Twitter, you're not on X or whatnot. I am calm right now, and I don't want to jinx anything. Certainly don't take my word for this, and it's not me saying it's not going to happen. I would be incredibly stunned if KYOGO moves to Manchester City in this window. Incredibly stunned. I don't think it'll happen. I just don't see why Manchester City, one of the global footballing superpowers in this day and age, who have the power to sign anybody on this planet that they like, anybody, the financial power, the pull power of just being the club that they are at this moment in time. Why would they go for nearly 30-year-old KYOGO with a shoulder that's made of butter, who might need surgery, and ultimately is playing up here when they could go for some young superstar from Brazil or Spain or Germany or whatnot? And that is not me disrespecting KYOGO, because I think that KYOGO is the type of player, and I said this very quickly after he signed for Celtic. He's somebody who can play at the top level. He's somebody who would score goals at Manchester City. Absolutely. They'd be incredibly fortunate and incredibly lucky to have a player like KYOGO. And that's not me trying to sell the move. They would be incredibly lucky. I just would be stunned if they go for a player from Celtic. I would be absolutely stunned. Now, obviously, these initial talks have apparently taken place, and KYOGO is in the shortlist. So you can't rule it out. I have my reservations. And maybe it's wishful thinking, and maybe it's me hanging on to the hope that he remains a Celtic player this time next week. But I just don't see it. For now, you're going to have to remain patient. It's as simple as that. There is nothing yet to suggest that this is going to happen. People are going to start asking how much money should Celtic command if this happens. At this point in the window, KYOGO is easily a £20 million player to Celtic. I don't care if he's 29 years of age with a shoulder that's constantly falling out. He's somebody that is sort of irreplaceable for us. One of the best strikers we've had. Some would say, and I think most of us would say, the best striker we've had since Henrik Larsson. He's somebody that Celtic should be demanding a lot of money for, especially at this point of the transfer window. So there's no point in getting caught up in transfer fees or anything like that yet. Listen, if Man City want to make it happen, they'll make it happen. Personal agreements, personal terms, contracts are not going to be a problem. This is a move of a lifetime for KYOGO. If it's real, and he will accept this move. There's no denying that. There's no two ways about it. It all comes down to the negotiations between the clubs now. If Man City are serious on acting and signing KYOGO Furuhashi, I hope it doesn't happen. We're genuinely just going to have to wait and see. Sometimes you might have to ask yourself, look, listen, if Man City do come in and they do offer, say, £20 million for KYOGO, would it be daft of Celtic to turn their nose up at that anyway? You know, you're talking about somebody at 29, going on 30, with these shoulder issues we're talking about. He's only going to get older, and that value is only going to drop. This might be a once in a lifetime opportunity to accept that sort of money for KYOGO. People might look at it in that way. People might think we can get better with that sort of money. But I would rather keep him, because I don't see that money. I don't trust Celtic to reinvest that money in another striker in the short amount of time that they have. KYOGO scores goals for us, and they can be hard goals to replace with so little time. Watch where it goes. It is a scary one. It's one that none of us expected in this transfer window. I have my doubts, but it doesn't mean this won't happen. I can't stress that enough. Let's be more positive, shall we? Because there is one thing that does look certain to happen, and it is good news because it's a signing for Celtic. Yes, out of nowhere, Celtic look to be making their next signing in the summer transfer window, and it's big money being spent as well, so that'll please a lot of you, I would assume. This was an article that came out from Poland this morning via journalist Tomasz Wlodasik. Hope I've got the pronunciation right there. Sorry, Tomasz, if I've not. He reported this morning that Glasgow Celtic are seriously interested in Mateusz Bogusz. According to our information, talks are underway to complete the transfer before the summer window closes. Bogusz is having a great time in the US and the MLS this season. He scored 13 goals and assisted 5 for LAFC. And in total, he scored 16 and assisted 6 in other competitions. It's no wonder that he has attracted interest from Europe. It is very likely he'll receive a call-up to the Polish national team for the Nations League matches in September next week. Celtic are determined, yes, determined to sign the Polish midfielder. Talks are currently underway with the players' club and to agree an individual contract. It looks as though this one is going to happen. Reported by Tomasz Wlodasik. As we mentioned, he was also the journalist who reported the Josip Juranovic news and Mike Nawrowski news, so a very reliable source, and he's been on the money with Celtic moves before. So it looks as though Celtic are set to make their next summer signing in Polish midfielder Mateusz Bogusz, who, despite his name being Bogus, Doesn't look very bogus. In fact, I really like the look of him on my first impressions. As we've already mentioned, this season in the MLS, he's played 24 times, scoring 13 and assisting 5. Also chipped in with a couple of goals over the Leagues Cup and the US Open Cup as well. He is on fire, having his best season as a player thus far. He looks really good. He's a very versatile player. Could this be the Matt O'Reilly replacement? Some might ask, could this be the KYOGO Furuhashi replacement? Because if you look at him, he plays in a number of different areas. I'll put it on screen. He can play centre mid, attacking mid, centre forward, where he's been deployed mostly for LAFC this season. He's played on the right wing, the left wing, and he's played everywhere in between, it seems. Mateusz Bogusz is a very versatile player who can fill in a number of different roles for Celtic. People really tying this together with the KYOGO story and assuming that this could be his replacement. I can't call that yet. At first glance, at first reading, I thought that this could potentially be the Matt O'Reilly replacement should his move to Brighton materialise. So there's a lot of theories being thrown around, and until we hear more on both KYOGO and Matt O'Reilly, we really can't speculate. But his history is playing as a sort of centre-forward attacking midfielder, and not necessarily an out-and-out striker, would say to me that he could play off of KYOGO or off of Ademida as sort of a number 10. And that's the impressions that I got, but nonetheless, everybody is open to their own interpretation. It is big money that Celtic will be spending on Bogusz should he sign. The reports are suggesting that it'll be between £6.8 million and £8.5 million. So it is a big range, of course. We're talking a range of £2 million there, as little as 6.8 to 8.5. This is somebody who I would assume is coming in to play week in, week out for that sort of money. But we need to wait and see who leaves the club first. As I said, this is moving fast, though. I think that this is going to happen. I would certainly think so anyway, off of the original stories. Used to play for Leeds United as well, so he has been over in the UK before. He was very young when he was there. Keep in mind, we've not even spoken about it, Bogusz right now is only 22 years of age. He's in the very early stages of his career, but he is enjoying the best football of his career right now with LAFC, the season that he's having in the 2024 campaign of the MLS. So he's looking good. He can score a cracker. We've seen that already if you've seen his clips. He really does look like a talented player. And the risk of this video dragging on too long, we will talk about Mateusz Bogusz a bit more on the podcast tonight and on the channel over the next couple of days if this story develops further. But I am pretty confident this one looks like it's going to happen. So yeah, keep an eye out on the podcast Twitter, my Twitter, social media in general, and you'll probably hear more about the guy. But I think this is, well, Fabricio would call it a here we go. I like calling it a there we land nowadays. So yeah, Mateusz Bogusz to Celtic. It looks like the next summer signing. The one thing that I can't escape laughing at though, as I read into this player and this transfer, is his past 2 moves to get here to Glasgow. So before LAFC, he was living up on the sunny Balearic Islands with Ibiza. He was playing for Ibiza in the Spanish 2nd Division. And obviously would have enjoyed a very luscious life there. Had a decent wee spell there as well with Ibiza. But beautiful place, beautiful island, beautiful weather. He then moves to the sunny west coast of the USA to live in Beverly Hills of all places, Los Angeles, California, you know, the land of milk and honey, the movie stars and everything else. And now he's going to end up in the East End of Glasgow. From Ibiza to LA to Easterhouse. Enjoy, Mateusz, enjoy. Right then, if you have enjoyed today's video, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. I know, hectic. KYOGO could be off. Bogusz coming in. Whenever there's a breaking development, we'll be right here to talk about it. So stay with me. Keep yourself hydrated. That's one of the main things. Cheerio.